getting ready for elections. 14 February 2022 is the date wherein Goa will decide its future for another 5 years. As we move on this path to election date, I have been entrusted the responsibility to represent the Indian National Congress in 28 Nuvem Constituency. I've had the privilege of being an MLA, but of the erstwhile Lotolim constituency. I won 4 elections. I lost an election. So during those 20 years, I learned a lot. And I think part of the learning was contributed by my dear parents. My father was the owner of a laboratory, a pharmaceutical factory. In those days, in the 40s, in the late 40s. My father had a newspaper by the name of Awaz de India. And this paper was pro-India, anti-Portuguese. He was forced by the Portuguese to close shop. From there, he migrated to Africa. He migrated to Mombasa, to be more precise. And started, since his degrees were not recognized in British Africa, he started working as a chemist in a pharmacy. My mother was a teacher. She too was in Africa. Incidentally, that's where I was born. I was born in Mombasa. Way back in the year 1970, we returned from there. And we young children went to Loyola High School to study. Our life really started from then. My father, upon coming back, opened a small bottling unit wherein we bottled Feni. We had no employees. We, the family, were the employees of that unit. We would go to school, come back, have lunch, and rush to the factory, where we would bottle Feni. And the next day, my father would load it into our car. We could not afford to buy a pickup at that time. So we used to transport our goods, whatever we produced in that car. He would go to the market, sell it, and come back with fresh orders, which would be bottled, labeled, packed, and delivered the next day. That's where we started life. By the grace of God, as years went on, we have been able to grow. Sometimes I feel guilty that my parents are no longer alive to see where we have reached. Today we have a couple of industries, a hotel that keeps us going, and that gives us the strength and the courage to want to grow more. Way back in the 90s, early 90s, as one of our need, whilst we felt we had to grow, I approached a particular minister And that minister promised to do the job. He picked up the phone and he phoned the officer concerned and told him that he must help me. When I went to meet the officer, I realized that I knew the officer. And he told me, Mr. Sequeira, as soon as you left the minister's office, he phoned and told me, I simply phoned you. You don't have to do the job. That day I resolved that I would get into politics and I would try to ensure that the common man was not taken for granted. The common man was not cheated. People were not given fake promises. That is how I landed into electoral politics. Before that, from the year 1974, I joined the Indian Youth Congress. I've held various positions through the years. I also became a member of the Indian National Congress. Therein too, I've held various posts. It was, as I said, in 1994 that I jumped into politics, electoral politics. I'm proud to say that the people of Nuvem Constituency stood behind me, and in the year 1999, I won the election unopposed, which credit goes to the voters of Nuvem Constituency. Thereafter, I fought 2 more elections where I was successful. And as I said earlier, I lost 1 election. Having lost an election, I was upset. But I think people thought they needed a change. They were fed up of Aleixo Sequeira seeing the same old face. That's how I lost my election. 2017, the party in its wisdom decided to deny me the nomination. I'm happy that in 2022, at last the party realized that they also needed people committed to the party. And I think that was one of the criteria that made them nominate me as their nominee in the 28th Nuvem Constituency.
आता परिवर्तन जातले काँग्रेस सरकार येतले.